Bol-News on the NCR channel is presented by the Pinewood Nainital.
Sometimes I show different clips that of different interpretations of Shakuntala because there have been so many. And so yes, absolutely.
Have you been to India?
I have not. I would love to.
Of course, we would love to welcome you to India.
Oh, thank you. That would be wonderful.
So what are your current projects that you're working on?
My current projects that I'm working on, I have written a short that I am currently in the pre-production phase of working on, hoping to get that producing that by the end of the year. It's a short film that I wrote when I was pregnant with my first son. And it's from that perspective of being pregnant. It's a comedy about the not so enjoyable and sort of comedic experiences that happen in that phase of a woman's experience. So I'm hoping to produce that and work on that soon. In terms of acting, I'm shooting a couple features this fall. And I can't say anything about them, but those are happening in New York. And then there's always things brewing. I've always got little projects going on. I've got a few things that I've written that I need to continue working on. And one might be a series, it might be a film. I'm not sure yet. So there's a few projects. Oh, and then I'm helping produce and I'm acting in another a friend's project that I think will be a feature, and it's also a comedy. So that'll be fun.
How do you balance personal life and professional life since you're a mother? And I know it's very tough. So how do you balance it?
That's an excellent question. I don't know. No, it is very tough. It's very tough. I'm not going to lie. Especially because my kids are young. Once your kids get a little older, it's much more manageable. I think if you have help with caretakers or they're in school, it's much easier, obviously. So it's really about teamwork. My husband and I have to really tag team. We're both working from home a lot of the time, and a lot of the work happens once they've gone to sleep or when I have just a moment. One is at school, and I have to say the me time is that doesn't really happen much. So not to scare anyone, but priorities. So, we should be a priority too. I need to work on that. But yeah, it's a struggle, but you find a way. You find a way.
Now this question is a bit personal. Have you ever said no to a project because of your motherhood?
Yes. Yeah, I have. And that was really tough. Thank you for asking that question. That's a great question. And it's really, really tough. I had to turn down, I was cast in a great project. At the beginning, it was just before the pandemic. It was just before the shutdown. I auditioned in person. I was cast in a great role. And then I was pregnant, but I wasn't showing yet. And we were going to shoot. It was going to be fine. And then the shutdown happened. And so production kept being pushed back. And if we recall, nobody knew anything about anything. And so we thought that we'd be able to shoot. Finally, the time came when we were going to shoot. And I just was not, I think I had actually had my child at that point. And I wasn't ready I had a newborn. It wasn't, in my opinion, wasn't safe. So I had to really weigh family over work, and it was a really tough decision. But here's a silver lining. I said no. Respectfully, this is someone that I wanted to work with again. And they totally understood. They supported my decision. Fortunately, they replaced me. And that director has contacted me a couple times and has actually written a couple parts for me based on me. I don't know. And so now there's a few projects I have lined up. One of the ones that I had mentioned before that's happening toward the end of this year is a feature. And it's a bigger role. It's a bigger role than the one that I was cast in before. So, it does happen. It's tough to say no to projects, but if you maintain good communication and you're honest, people remember you, and people want to work with you. If they want to work with you, they want to work with you, and they'll make that happen. So there's the silver lining and a little tip. Just communicate and be honest.
Who's your favorite director? How do you plan to go about working with your favorite director?
Wow. Who's my favorite? Someone that I've worked with before, or someone I would like to work with?
No, any director in the world. Like
Any director in general.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a fantastic question. Who's one of my favorite directors? She's kind of quirky. Her work is kind of quirky and interesting. So Sofia Coppola makes some interesting films sometimes that I find funny and interesting. I think she would be fun to work with. And how would I prepare to work with her?
Yeah, how do you plan to go about working with them?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think the best way to go about work with is to really continue to do your work. So I'm going to continue to do my work. I'm going to try to get in touch in a respectful way. And it's difficult to do that this day and age. There's a lot of, it's hard to get a hold of people like that. But I think that if you continue to do your work, you will get noticed. And, if you let people know what your goals are, they'll want to help you. That's something that I learned recently. Someone said, tell everybody what your project is, what you want to do, who you want to work with. And then they might say, oh, well, I know Sophia, and let me introduce you. Right. So I guess I just have to keep talking about it and putting that work forward and continuing to network in that way.
What is your take on sex and nudity in cinema and theater?
Yes. I am for it if it drives the story forward. I'm for it if it's necessary within the story. I also feel sex and nudity can be alluded to in really beautiful, artistic and poignant ways. So sometimes being gratuitous is not the most, it doesn't help the story. So in my opinion, there are really poetic, and cinema can be incredibly poetic. I love poetic cinema. I love stylized theater and cinema. And I think that you can get intimacy across in very beautiful cinematic ways, and get that same intimacy or whatever it is you're trying to tell in that story, whatever the motive or the action is in that moment. So I think, like I said, I'm for it if it's done tastefully and it drives the story.
How important do you think are film festivals for an actor or a filmmaker or a writer?
I think they're invaluable in the sense that you get your work out there. There's an audience. There's an automatic audience who is seeing your work. And depending on the festival, there's a lot of festivals, but depending on the festival, there's a lot of industry people who are going to see your work and say, oh, I want to work with Amit. Look at what he's produced. Look at how this was edited. I want to work with that person. So festivals are invaluable for networking, for learning. Also, there's so much you learn from watching other people's work and storytelling. So I think they're pretty important.
Have you been to any of the top 10 film festivals in the world, like Cannes, Berlin, Toronto, Locarno?
Not yet. I really, 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 really want to.
Hopefully soon.
But I want to be in films that are screening. That's the other thing. But yeah, I'd love to be at Cannes. I'd love to be. Yes, absolutely. It's up there for those goals. I would love that.
God willing, soon.
Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome. It's very important for artists finding themselves spiritually. So, how do you maintain that spiritual contact of yours? Do you have a spiritual side?
I do. I do. Thank you. That's interesting. I'd love to know where you read that. So do tell me later. I do. I have a meditation practice, so that's very important. I come from a Catholic upbringing. I don't practice as I used to as a child, but so I do have prayer as a part of my spiritual practice. And I sort of incorporate those two for myself, as well as nature is really important to me. So as sort of a meditative, I guess, entry point, it's important. It's always been important for me to commune with nature in some kind of way. So whatever that means for others. But hiking, the ocean. I'm originally from San Francisco, so I'm very lucky to have been surrounded by ocean and forest and trees, so nature is really important to me. But meditation really grounds me, though. It's been, thank goodness for that.
Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Oh, wow. 10 years from now, I would like to have my own film company. I would like to be producing my own work and other people's work that I believe in. I would like to be acting or working in the entertainment industry full time, and then and still teaching masterclasses and workshops when I can fit them in. But I'd really love to just be, self-sufficient in that respect, and traveling the world to all the film festivals and seeing you and seeing, other wonderful people who are watching this and talking about our work. That's where I'd like to be in 10 years.
Perfect. That's a very well answered question. Thank you. So congratulations again, Catherine, for winning BNHAF Award of Merit. That is Bol-News Hybrid Awards Festival Award of Merit. And
Thank you so much.
It was wonderful having you and listening to your story and your journey in the film industry. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Bol-News on the NCR channel is presented by the Pioneer Nainital.